The Genesis scoring tent was the equivalent of a Taco Bell drive-through on a Saturday night. People were in, people were out, and the result was probably still the same. It was the medical fiasco of the tour. I can say that because flu has come to North. I don't know what I'm trying to say, guys. I'm tired. You found Golf Talk Live. You found Brendan Elliott, Little Linksters, noted golf author, and Mr. Andy Hydorn with no camera on, probably trying to save his internet. But he is from Q Mixers. I'm Alan Depew. And Brendan, I'm going to jump right to it and just say, what the hell was in the water at the Genesis? Tiger, Jordan Spieth allegedly had to run out of the scoring tent due to a, shall we say, a personal issue. So,
well, I'll speak on Tiger, but I'm a little behind on the Spieth. I know he got DQ'd, and it was a scorecard thing. But you guys can fill me in on that. But
I'll
go ahead.
I'll jump in. So apparently they walked into the scores room. He, as told, I think he was playing with Xander. Can't remember. And he stepped out of the tent, the booth, the room, whatever, for literally just a moment because, as it was described, he had to go use a facility, and because he had exited the area and he had signed an incorrect scorecard, DQ. And I'm not talking Dairy Queen.
He had also ran off the 18th green, like ran up the stairs. So there's something brewing there.
Oh, we've all been there.
Well, yeah. You know, I you know who's taking a lot of heat with this, Andy, is In-N-Out Burgers.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody got sick at the Genesis, and they were, what's the common denominator?
Was there others besides those two?
No, but that's enough.
Yeah.
So we interrupted you. What were you going to say about Mr. Eldrick?
Well, I mean, I kind of threw it out there in our group text that let me say this first. I'm a huge Tiger fan, and I've always given him the benefit of the doubt through all these different comebacks, and I've never counted him out of not being able to come back. And this time, I really thought that he was looking good enough to not contend this weekend, maybe not even make the cut, but show some glimpses of what was the potential for the rest of the year. And that still may be there. But it just seems, I'm going to agree with Andy. I can't believe I'm going to say this because Andy's also a Tiger fan, but yes, enough is enough, you know. And I immediately said, I'm not watching the rest of the tournament, but I did wind up watching the final round, and thank God I did, because it was pretty good. There's always good storylines with or without Tiger. But man, this just sucks for Tiger fans, and it sucks for the game too. It really does.
So there was something in the water on December 30th, 1976, because that's when Tiger was born, and that's when LeBron James was born, and they both have that same like characteristic of just not wanting to ever, you know, kind of just take blame for anything. It's always something else. December 30th, 1976, maybe it was one of those Chinese horoscope deals.
So there is obviously, social media is ruthless. We all know that. There's one going around that I saw about how it shows him down on one knee when he won the Open, and it starts talking about how he allegedly finished the entire tournament on a broken leg, to a guy that gets carted off because he had a bad In-N-Out Burger experience. So, you know, does these comebacks 2.0, 3.0, now up to about 10.0, Brendan, does this tarnish his legacy?
It's starting to, because if someone like me that's a diehard is starting to kind of give in to what a lot of people have been saying for a while, yeah, I think it does. And look, there's no question in my mind the guy loves the game because it's all he knows. Like, and when something's the only thing that you know, it's hard to say I can't do this anymore. It's really hard. And he might be at that point right now.
Yeah, here's my thing though. Like, I don't it's almost like the boy that cried wolf, right? So I don't have the least bit of doubt that he was sick,
right,
and needed to drop out of the tournament. The thing that bothers me the most is that he shanks one on 18, and he says his back is spasming, and it's like, can't you just say, yeah, I hit a shank? Like, does it really have to be, going back to something that was out of his control, that he was having back spasms? That's the part that bothers me the most, is, just not being able to pull up your big boy pants and say, yeah, I shanked it, and move on.
So,
because the more he brings up reasons for his poor play or a poor shot here and there, it starts to accumulate, and it's a boy that cried wolf.
So first of all, I think he hit a hell of a shot, by the way, on the recovery after the lateral.
Yeah.
But you know what? You mentioned you invoked LeBron, who I am not a fan of at all, because of just this reason. He's a whiner. And all I can see is, again, that picture of him like with a sprained toe being carried off by his teammates off the court, because, is that going to eventually be Tiger's legacy?
No, but it's definitely part of what is in the conversation now.
Yeah, more than ever. More than ever. And like I was saying to you guys in the text thread, I really feel like this goes deeper and way further back, the feelings that he has, back to how Earl kind of raised him as a player, where failure was not an option. And like, I think he's just trying to come up with, well, the excuses are, oh, it wasn't my fault that I failed this time. It wasn't my fault that I failed this time. Here's the reason why. Instead of just being human and accepting the fact that he's human. But he can't do that. And it's not just because of his father. It's because we are all guilty of putting this guy up on a pedestal for so long.
Huge pedestal. Yep.
Yeah. And rightfully so. When he was in his prime, there's no denying that he was probably the best golfer that's ever played the game in his prime, from all aspects. But when he became human, through all the shit that happened with the infidelity and everything else, and with his wife,
the drugs,
that's nothing any different than could happen to you or I or any of our friends. We all go through shit like that. And he just can't see himself as being a mortal like all the rest of us. And I think that's his problem.
So let's go back to LeBron for a minute, right? Because I think what you're saying about Tiger is super powerful, right? And it's very, very relevant to the conversation about what Tiger is today. But LeBron married his high school sweetheart. Mm-hmm. He's never had a scandal, even anything close to a scandal, in his entire life, right? He's by all means a great human being. And he has so many people that dislike him. And they dislike him for that reason alone. It's that whole drama, me, like there's only one reason people don't like LeBron, and that's it. And I'd hate for Tiger to kind of have that baggage go along with him, because his legacy does not deserve to have any of that as part of the definition of who he is.
Agreed. Now, B, you were not on, since we're going to keep going with the Tiger thing. You were not on last week when we talked about Sunday Red. Mm-hmm. Is obviously he's hit that point, and we saw this years ago. Started getting into course architecture. He wanted to follow, and that's a natural, right? People are going to design golf courses, and then he got in. Now he's going to have the golf league, and then he's going to have different things, other different business interests that distract from, as you said, the win at all cost mentality. What's your thoughts on Sunday Red?
I think it's cool, and I think it was good when the Nike thing, all kind of the dust settled and everything happened with that, and he could kind of spread his wings and kind of do something a little bit different. I think in the long run, that's going to be one of the best things that's ever happened to him from a business standpoint for his brand, for him. But to your point about all these other really good things, and not to mention his foundation and all the good that he's done through his foundation. I mean, that's what's going to that's what the legacy's about. It's not about what these great athletes who become, world known. It's not about what they did on the basketball court or on the football field or on the golf course. That's what raises them to that level of being known throughout the world. It's all the other stuff they do once they're in that position.
Right.
And if he can't be satisfied with all that stuff that he's doing outside of playing the game, it goes back to, in my mind, it goes right back to his childhood of he has to be the best on the golf course. And he can't let himself, no matter what, injury, whatever, he can't find a way to finalize that chapter of his life. Not yet. And there's no reason for him to be ashamed that he can't do that anymore.
Totally agree. I totally agree. And that's the dynamic that's going on there, is that, he's feeling like he's between a rock and a hard place when he's struggling and getting older and diminishing skill sets. He's not programmed to have some humility and deal with the fact that he is who he is now.
And that would make people love him even more if he had some humility. Or LeBron, same thing.
So one of the most beloved athletes of all time, and it's probably more so regionally because the people in this region have seen him in action since he stopped playing, was Bobby Orr. Okay. So if you ask anybody in the Boston area to tell a Bobby Orr story, they all have one, because he's been out in the public. He's been generous. He's been just a great human being, in addition to being one of the greatest hockey players that ever lived. But he cemented his legacy, like you said, Brendan, through all of the legacy of all the things that he's done off the ice. And that's why he's one of the most beloved athletes,
this is, I'm a hockey guy also, so this is like sacrilegious what I'm going to say. So Bobby Orr, not unlike LeBron. LeBron is an absolute physical specimen. Do I think he's the best that ever played? No, I don't think he is. MJ is. Always will be in my mind. Bobby Orr was probably better than Gretzky. He might have been one of the best. He might have been the best player physically. The way he could overtake a game going end to end was amazing. And then he bowed out because of injuries and what have you. But as to your point, Andy, he kept how he handled himself, either during or post, cemented his legacy. So they in the presser, they asked Tiger, I got the quote here. He says, when he asked about his playing time, he said, I love competing. I love playing. I love being a part of the game of golf. He said in the pre-tournament. So he's not ready to walk away. He's not ready to quit.
No.
I just don't know if he can compete anymore.
Yeah. And it brings up like something that's interesting. So Steve Elkington is a Champions Golf Club guy. And I'm going to throw Greg Norman in this conversation too, because both of those guys had really good careers playing golf. And when they kind of got old enough, a lot of their contemporaries are out there competing on the Champions Tour and, you know, kind of scraping it around for some money here and there out there, and which is great. And, you know, Elkington's out there practicing every day. And I said to him the other day, I'm like, are you like preparing for anything, or like, are you going to play in anything? And he goes, no. I said, well, you're out here every day.
You're grinding.
Every day. And it's like, he goes, I like to practice. He goes, but the point I'm trying to make is, I don't think that those guys can handle like not being great.
Yeah.
It's a little too much to handle. And it can, and I'm sure in their minds, it can tarnish their legacy as the golfer they once were.
Right.
Go out there and kind of not be a great player now.
Yeah. The ability to get it around without question. I have one. Go ahead, Brendan.
I was just going to say, it could be the simple fact that when you reach a level like that, where you're playing on the biggest stage in the world and you've won, and the game is such a hard game to master, and then nobody masters it. But when it's going to be hard for these guys that have reached that level to let it go, that you're not always going to be able to do this, because you can always play the game. You can play until you're in 1 foot in the grave. And these guys just probably can't be satisfied with being Al Geiberger that shot 59 and going out and playing and shooting 80. Like Jack Nicklaus is a great example. He doesn't play anymore. He's said that the last couple of years. And, you know, he's had rounds of 80 or 82 or something. That would drive those guys nuts.
I think yes, the mental anguish of having been to a level and not that's the physical toll catches up with them, but it's the mental anguish that they go through is probably the most detrimental to their abilities.
Yeah.
In the fear of being mortal.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The golf course.
Yeah.
I think is really what is the biggest hurdle for some of those guys.
So I got one last Tiger comment before we move on to a couple other things regarding the Genesis, and that is, look at his first rounds. His first round, his bogeys were only basically on the second nine. He shot one over. He was right there. You know, I think he made 4 bogeys down on the back nine that day. So was it a conditioning? Was it a mental edge, just not being focused when you get to the back nine? Or was it an in and out burger?
Well, in all fairness, the back nine played what did I hear? Like 2 shots more difficult than the front nine throughout the week. So I mean, there's a little bit of that, but for sure that he's running out of gas by the time he gets to the 14th or 15th hole. And he doesn't have to tell the media that. We know that. We don't have to be told the reasoning. It's just a given.
Right.
But why does there have to be a reason, right? Like, why can't we just say that he hit a few bad shots on a couple of tough holes? Mm-hmm. He was still, if I remember correctly, 1 over was 54th after round 1.
Oh, I think it was even higher than that. Yeah, he was inside the cut line, certainly.
He was inside the cut line. So, again, I think the fact that you haven't played in a long time, you're not sharp, you're a little rusty, but that's natural, right? I just let him. When I say let him, he needs to let himself work himself back into tournament shape, and not judge himself, not be looking to bail out, not be looking to blame his back, like none of that. Just like, remember when he was really struggling after one of his episodes where he had the chip yips, and
yep.
he was so damn patient in the interview room after every round. He'd be like, I'm getting there, I'm getting close. Like, he has none of that now. Like, none of it. He's projecting that I'm here to win, and if I don't win, I must have had a bad back, you know?
Yeah, he was perhaps the greatest. You know, I listened to. I'm a Zig Ziglar fan. You know, God rest his soul. But Tiger was the greatest self-talk person I've ever seen. I'm getting there. Yeah, hey, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. We're always getting better. He's always saying and telling everybody he's getting better, getting better, getting better.
He was so patient, so patient.
And Andy, with your chipping woes that you've talked about, for him to come back from that, and then kind of, I think it was at Valspar, he started to show some signs, and that was leading up to the win at the Masters in 19. You can't, no matter who you are, I don't care if it's Tiger Woods or whoever, you can't let your mind outrace what the body's doing and everything, because you're always going to lose in that case, always.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. It's a miracle that he got his way through that as quickly as he did.
So that was another point I wanted to make. Speaking of people with their body, let's talk about Will Zalatoris.
Yeah.
What a comeback to come back onto the stage and make an appearance and contend.
And that lab putter's doing him a lot of good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of those just guys I love to watch hit golf balls. I mean, and I get it, his swing is potentially damaging to his body, but I mean, I just love to watch the kid hit shots.
Well, he talked about it in the one interview about how they've changed his setup a little bit to try to minimize the impact on his lower back to work the club around him more than up and down. So, from your astute observation, gentlemen, I mean, obviously he was leading or he was at the top of the leaderboard at a PGA Tour event, so he obviously was doing something right.
I didn't think he would get there that fast because he was so out of whack at the Hero, big time, and then the next tournament you could see slowly but surely he was getting in there. I understand that they've made some tweaks with his swing though, but he still looks very it looks painful to make a swing like he does if you're not strong in the core. And what did he had fusion surgery or no?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he did.
I think so too. And he's still really young.
Yeah.
And it's scary, man, when you see guys like him, or Rory's not as young as he used to be, but these guys have so much torque and so much like stuff that just the rest of us humans are just not capable of doing. And it's scary to see how we get as we age, how bad we can get. But these guys, it's scary sometimes. You have to really stay on top of keeping your body in peak physical condition to sustain stuff like that.
Well, when you like myself, when I turned to 69 degrees, it's, I mean, clearly my core is rock solid.
Clearly.
Yes.
All right. No, let's give Dude. Go ahead, Andy. Then I want to give Dude a word.
I love to see that he's gotten back so early, and I
love that kid.
I love him too, and I do fear that you know, his body may break down again. You know who he reminds me of? Joaquin Neiman.
That's a nice segue. Just like Brendan made something about the Masters earlier, but I'm not ready for that because I'm gonna get there in a second. I wanted to talk about Hideki. We got to give him some props.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Dude fires 9 under and literally goes, I didn't play that
He had 3 turkeys.
He's somebody that's faded the last couple of years. It's good to see him back too.
Right.
I mean, he was on fire.
He did. He had 3 turkeys. He had three consecutive birdies 3 times on Sunday.
And didn't play well, in his words.
Yeah, I just think he's a little crazy when it.
Oh yeah. Where's he at in the world rankings? Is he like, well, prior to this, was he like in the 20s, or he's faded quite a bit, right?
I don't know, but when he gets to Augusta and he sees Joaquin Niemann at the Masters, it will be interesting to see if where his game is at.
Yeah,
and why would Joaquin Niemann be there, Andy?
Well,
cutting edge news just happened today.
Because
we're recording on Wednesday.
Augusta National reserves the right to invite whoever the hell. And I am so glad that like our friend Rex Hoggard said today on Sirius PGA Tour Radio, that they were the adult in the room and they didn't play into the bullshit one way or the other. And they found it to be reasonable that Joaquin Niemann should play in the Masters. I mean, he won the Australian Open this year, which is way more relevant to me than the Live Tour event that he won.
Yeah.
But
they're so close.
I just think it's great that they didn't make a statement. They just did what was right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Rex. He was hitting balls on the back of the range this afternoon where I was teaching.
Was he?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of live guys that are going to be playing at Augusta.
Yeah. Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
A ton of past champions.
Right.
Because most of them are has-beens.
Well, I mean, we are 50 days. Like I said, we're 50 days from Augusta. It's going to be interesting to see if Koepka comes back with a vengeance. It's going to be interesting to see if Rahm, his dominance again. It's going to be interesting to see if Cam Smith even surfaces.
Yeah, he's been awful quiet.
So,
did anybody pick Rahm when we did our predictions?
He keeps racking up top 30s on the Live Tour.
It's not too shabby.
It's all about the team event.
That's right. The Crushers.
The Crushers. The Rage Goats.
Yeah.
That sells merch just like Yankees jerseys.
Same thing.
Similar yet different.
Yeah.
There's live stuff on Temu or Temu.
So the other big news today, literally just hitting, and I told you I had some interesting additional information. There is a son of a famous athlete who will be teeing it up in, what's the name of the tournament? It used to be the Honda. Cognizant.
Yeah, something like that.
Cognizant or something like that. Anyway, teeing it up.
Cognizant Classic.
And it's not Charlie Woods, although he'll be there.
Ooh.
Didn't know this, did you?
No.
Austin Lemieux, son of Mario.
Wow.
Real?
Who, by the way, my son played hockey against. He was a hell of a hockey player also. Austin Lemieux fired a little 66 today.
Nice.
He will be at the Monday qualifier. But I did mention Charlie Woods. It was announced today. Charlie Woods is going to challenge his game at another level by trying to tee it up in the Monday qualifier or the Monday pre-qualifier for the Cognizant. Andy, thoughts?
I'm just shocked he can afford the entry fee. I would say that he is the long shot of all long shots.
Oh yeah.
If he shoots better than 76, I'd be super surprised.
Interesting.
Trying to see on here where the tournament is. I don't see that. Because it's a pre-qualifier, which my PGA section down here handles all the well, not that one. That falls in South Florida section.
That's South Florida. You're North Florida, right?
Yeah. But I'm reading here, it says Charlie's holding a +3 handicap. Yeah, and he's dead on. If he should break 76, I mean, Rick Shields might have a better shot at getting in than Charlie.
He is
not knocking Charlie.
He's down. He's at a +3 right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the kid can shoot. He can break par. I mean, that's obvious, but he's never been in that arena before, and you can't prepare for that if you've never been in that. I just Nota Begay's tournament doesn't qualify is being on the big stage.
And even the length that the course will be set up and all that stuff is just more than he's used to.
So,
but I'm glad that he's dipping his toe in the water.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that for sure.
He's actually teeing it up with Olin Brown Jr.
Oh wow,
I know that young man.
Top 25 players from the 4 pre-qualifying events will move on to the Monday qualifier. The top 4 of that event will move on to the Cognizant, which is held at Lost Lake Golf Club in Hobie Sound.
There you go.
At age 15, Charlie Woods is the youngest player attempting to make the field. You know,
when is that pre-qualifier?
They're usually on
Thursday, I believe.
They're usually the week prior during the tournament.
Yeah. So tomorrow at 7:39 a.m. Golf Channel. Brandel will be there with Golf Channel, and they'll be live
on the range, following his round.
Ladies and gentlemen, the line for over/under has been set at 76. The betting window is open. Place your bets.
I go $5 under.
I'm betting 100 over.
Oof.
Yeah, I like that. 100 over.
So how's this work? Do I get your hundreds?
I'm not. No, you have to. If he goes over, you have to pay 200.
Right.
If he goes under,
I don't recall that in the.
I have to split $5.
Deal.
But yes, Austin Lemieux. I think he had 5 birdies on the back 9. He was 37, 32 for a little 66. Good to see him. Little noteworthy professional athlete's son that doesn't have the last name Woods.
Yeah.
Do you think he'd get a sponsor's exemption into anything as a teenager?
Charlie?
Yeah.
I figured that was going to happen. I figured the Genesis was going to give that to him, just like his dad. And Andy's shaking his head because he doesn't agree with it. And I'm not sure I agree with it, but I think it'll happen because of his star power.
I'm shaking my head, not because I don't think it would happen, because it probably will happen. But he is nowhere near as deserving as his father was of that exemption at the same age. I mean, like there was a scandal at his high school that he made the state championship team of 5. Like they bumped somebody else to put him in. So, he's barely cracking the top 5 of his high school golf team. Granted, they have a great golf team, but it's not like he's anywhere near in the same kind of level that his father was at this age.
Yeah.
Tiger already had how many juniors at that point? 2 or 3.
Well,
2.
He won 15, 16, and 17.
Okay.
And then I believe 18, 19, and 20, he won the amateurs.
Yep. Yep.
And then Hello World.
Which was the same day I moved to Orlando. Remember watching that when I had unpacking my suitcase.
Hello World.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then jars it at Phoenix, right? Was
Yeah,
that?
That was the next week, right? Or no?
I thought he teed it up at Milwaukee.
Yes.
I think Milwaukee was his first event. Phoenix was the next spring.
Right. And that set number 16 into motion. We didn't, Brendan, again, you were on assignment for your other activities last week. Would you like to weigh in before we go to final thoughts? Weigh in on the 16th hole and the Phoenix?
What a shit show. I mean, I love the concept. I love the whole concept. I think more golf courses or more tournaments on tour should have that playful type atmosphere, but it has to remain respectful. And that was an abomination of what a golf event should be. I mean, and I'm not prude. I'm not getting too old to, kind of see where the bros are, those types of fans of golf. That was just way over the top. And who is it? The Thunderbirds is the group that kind of runs that event. They should be ashamed of themselves. And in fact, the tour should have there should be some kind of recourse for what happened and to make sure that it doesn't happen again next year. I did listen to the show, but I don't remember. I know Christian was pretty heated about it, but it seems like the overall consensus from everybody is that it was a shit show.
Yeah. I mean, like Mike Aldrich, I don't know if you saw this, our buddy Mike was posting that basically they didn't follow their own policy by, their alcohol service kind of policies. They just ignored. And it's just like we said this last week, we can't have nice things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it just turns into something that goes from being nice and fun to something that's just kind of ridiculous.
You and I both know that whether it's in the Minwoo chef hats or the space outfits or whatever other crazy ones that we saw, you and I both know they got fireball shot bottles being snuck in, and it's not even just the beer sales; it's all the other stuff. It's being hammered in line at 3:00 in the morning when they open the gates for the big run.
Yep.
And it's gotten out of control. And I think I mean, how many times do we need to see video footage? And I'm not a prude either. How many times do you need to see video footage of somebody being fireman carried out of the tournament or falling down and not being able to stand up on a muddy hill?
I do think it's 100% awesome though, the balance people have when they're just absolutely paced. Where guys are doing a complete back bend.
There's that dude on his phone.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's like, I mean, his back is like this.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Did you see the one with the guy and his buddy standing on 18 when they who won? Taylor was making the final putt? That was hysterical. That was the first one that I really laughed at. The guy that kind of wandered down the hill, that was funny too. But some of them were frightening. Like the guy with the fireman carry, I was like, God, that guy
he may be dead.
Have alcohol poisoning or something. This guy could be on the verge of being dead. Some of the stuff was scary.
Yep, no doubt. All right, winding up. Want to give a shout out. We think we got him next week. Is who do we?
Joe Hallett.
Joe Hallett,
the PGA's Teacher of the Year for this year. I've known Joe for a long time. Super guy. He was actually taught in this area where I live at a course called Redtail Golf Club, and he was with MB Park when she was going to high school here locally. Her and her sister. So Yeah, Joe's a great guy, and he'll be a great guest next week.
Looking forward to that. Andy, 18th green. Let's get it done. What you got?
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about Jordan, this whole scorecard thing. And it just seems so nonsensical, the penalty for signing an incorrect scorecard. And, I'm sure there, as it appears, there are other factors that led to him rushing through the process, right? But at the end of the day, it's a stupid rule.
Yes.
I mean, it's nothing to do with the game. Technology has the ability to be the be all end all governance of scorekeeping. So why lay that on the player's shoulders? And there's one little other piece of this that's a little bothersome, right? And Tom Kim was his scorekeeper that day. And I heard today that as they walked in the scores tent, they had a blank scorecard for Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
come on.
Yeah. Like, to me, that's as big a part of what happened as Jordan signing the wrong card. So I just think that the bigger part of the conversation is it's a completely unnecessary rule that gives the player zero advantage or disadvantage and should not be part of what's considered when people to get through the scorecard part of the end of a round of golf.
BE.
So my final thought is, as you guys know, my wife's father passed away almost 2 weeks ago, and one of the things that's really come to light for me personally is the relationships. We talk about relationships all the time through the game of golf, and the kids that I teach, I don't teach a lot of kids by design now, so I can have really strong relationships with them. And when you had Brian and who else was on with Brian? Yeah. They spoke so eloquently about the fact of how you teach kids and the relationship factor. And when I'm going through something like this with my family, with my wife's going through, some of these kids that I teach don't even know my wife, but the relationships that I have with them, all because of golf, and it goes well beyond me instructing them and being more of a coach and a mentor to them. I was just blown away of how respectful, how they were of the situation we're going through. And when kids pick up this game, it's great to pick up a game and be good at it and maybe get a college scholarship to play the game, but it teaches so much more. And when situations like that happen, it really makes me proud to do what I do for a living, and really focus on these kids, because it's not just about hitting a golf ball.
Great point.
Absolutely. I'm reminded of what was his name? The little boy's character in Bagger Vance.
Oh, God.
It's the greatest game ever played. And it's the greatest game ever played because it teaches you man against man, man against nature, man against himself. Golf. Look,
Artie Grave.
What is it?
Artie Grave.
That's it. I mentioned Mario Lemieux earlier. I'm just to expound on your point. I mentioned Mario Lemieux earlier. At every point, a great player in another sport's going to hang it up. Golf allows you to continue. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of this sport, is it allows us to, our games may disintegrate, but we're allowed to continue to play, which leads me to my final point. It's a little two-parter. Apparently she could see herself at age 26, her game beginning to take on a different shape. Lydia Ko, thinking that her career is towards the back end of it at age 26.
Wow. Really?
She was just in an interview. But I really wanted to give a shout out. And look, I don't condone what this person I'm going to say is his activities. He served his time, I believe, in given redemption. Angel Cabrera will be teeing it up in the Morocco Champions Tour event. in preparation. They don't know if he'll be back at Augusta, but it's good to see from a human perspective that, you know, he paid his time and he's getting back out there, and we commend that, and we wish him well. At least I do.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. All right, boys. Till next week.